Hello guys, and welcome to another fantastic video where we're going to talk to you a little bit about Dodge tuning. Look, it's got red racing stripes. That means it's fast. We're going to walk you through a bit of the details on how AlphaSpeed does the tuning on the Dodge ECUs, how we change all the fuel, spark, airflow, cam, all that interesting stuff. We'll be talking to you about it, so come on over and let's talk about that. So we're going to show you a bit, just a little bit of an overview of how we do all the fuel, spark, ignition. I already said spark. Fuel, spark, airflow. You need to change how the cams work, all that stuff. But let's get started. At least when we start talking about fuel, these cars are a bit simpler than usual. They use volumetric efficiency because they use a map sensor instead of using a flow meter. And they don't have white bands from the factory. So when we're talking about fuel tuning, you need to make sure that your VE maps are correct, because the VE maps are what tells it there's this much air inside the engine, so you need to inject this much fuel. And you need to make sure that your VE maps correlate to your power enrichment maps, which are the ones that tell it, like, when you're in wide open throttle, you need to be running this much AFR. You need to make sure that your VE maps agree with that. So if you want 11.8 AFR when you're in wide open throttle, you need to make sure that your VE maps are giving you that 11.8 AFR, because once those two match, you can just change the AFR table and it'll be reflected in the real AFR. You made sure that it runs at 11.8, you write 12.5 on the AFR map and it'll run at 12.5. So that's pretty much it on the base of the fuel stuff. But then there's the neural network. The neural network is basically an AI system that it has to learn about the engine's behavior, where does it need more or less fuel, and it basically bakes it into the fuel calculations. And normally, when you're working on one of these NA Dodges, you can leave that neural network turned on, because it'll make some good adjustments to whenever you're cruising and the cam moves and it gets a bit lean. The neural network adds that extra fuel into the fuel calculation, so it's not part of the fuel trims, and it makes it run a bit better. But if you're going to boost it, like this one will be boosted eventually, you should disable it, because either you need to disable it or use HP Tuner's V Neural Network Trainer, which might be a bit complicated, but we've had great results just turning off the neural network when it's converted into boost. And you need to make sure that all your axes are properly rescaled for boost, because if not, it won't know when you make when you have additional air, you have extra air, and it's not reflected in the axis, it won't know if it needs to pull ignition timing, add fuel, what does it need to do. So that needs to be taken into consideration. Talking about spark, this thing has about 4 spark maps. It has watt, part throttle, and then it has those same tables, but on different cam position. On those 4 spark tables, you need to make sure that the correct ones are the ones you change, because you don't want to change something that's not related to wide open throttle when you're tuning it for wide open throttle, and vice versa. So always make sure that you tune the correct tables, you put the pops and bangs on the correct tables, all that stuff is also important. And then this Dodge, this Durango, still has the VVT and the MDS. You can play around, we play around with the MDS to give it a bit more fuel efficiency if you want. If you don't want that, we can disable it. We can make it come on later. We can make it come on earlier. You tell us what to do and we can do it. And we move the VVT tables to make sure it makes more power throughout, because you can always play with those VVT angles to get a bit more horsepower, a bit more in the lower RPM range and a bit more in the upper RPM range. Finally, besides that, you have the torque tables, which are also really important, because you need to make sure that your actual torque meets the torque demanded by the ECU. If you're making more torque than the ECU is expecting, it'll go crazy and it'll throw you into limp modes and such. But we make sure that all the torque tables are at least close to reality and that it works good. If you're looking for one of these Dodge tunes, you know we have a giant dealer network in the States. You can contact any of our dealers. We can get you unlocked, we can get you tuned, we can do the tuning only, we can do the unlock only. Just hit up any of our dealers and they'll sort you out. So make sure to like this video, comment. If you want a Dodge that needs to get tuned, let us know. Share this video. If you have some friend looking for Dodge tuning, they don't want to send out their ECU, they can go to one of our dealers and get their ECU unlocked. Any questions you have about the tuning, the unlock process, just let us know on the Alpha Speed page on Facebook, or shoot us an email and we'll reply to you. We'll let you know. If we'll answer your questions and we'll get you sorted. We'll get you contacted with the dealer so you can get everything squared out. So thanks guys, and see you later.